aren't more.
Is there no? Oh, we didn't get all I needed. Oh, I need pull out the post. Okay. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Leadership Institute's Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. I'm Morton Blackwell, president of the Institute, and it's my pleasure to greet you here. We do these things on the first Wednesday of every month, and it's a wonderful series that we've had, and we're really pleased that we have here a mentor of mine for whom I worked from 1972 to 79 and helped him build a conservative movement. Richard Viguerie will be introduced later, but I pinned on him once the label that he's the funding father of the conservative movement, and that stuck. We live in interesting times. And I have here to open up 2 articles from the 2 newspapers that were delivered to my home this morning. I get the Washington Post and the Washington Times. My practice is to read through the Washington Times carefully so I can skim through the Washington Post, and that limits the amount of poison I have to ingest every day. But there's a wonderful contrast today. Story on page 2 of the Washington Times, headline, billionaires donate $6.25 billion to fund Trump accounts. President Trump on Tuesday announced that Michael and Susan Dell will donate $6.25 billion to fund so-called Trump accounts, one of the largest philanthropic donations ever to go directly to Americans. Michael Dell, the founder, chairman, and CEO of Dell Technologies, and his wife Susan Dell will give 25 million American children $250 each to jumpstart an investment account for their families. That's the story as it ran on page 2 of the Washington Times today. Next, I want to read from you from page 2 of the Washington Post, a story on the same topic. Headline, Dell CEO pledges $6.25 billion to quote Trump accounts for youth, and it tells some of the same story. The owner of the Washington Post is Jeff Bezos, who announced that he was going to make serious changes at the Washington Post and not have them not so hostile to the free enterprise system. their story is a little bit longer than the Washington Times story. They pulled a quote out and printed it in larger letters in the inside of the story, and the quote is from Derek Hamilton, described as an economist with the New School of Social Research. If you're familiar with such things, this is a notorious leftist operation. Here's the quote that they gave from Derek Hamilton in the Washington Post on page 2. He said, quote, "The reliance on charitable contributions of philanthropy or corporate leaders leaves us vulnerable to their whims and the fickles of their charitable inklings." Then attempting to soften the poison, the last sentence of the quote from Derek Hamilton is, "That is not to disparage the generosity of people who support these activities." But there's just an obvious, horrible leftist, and you can see signs of this virtually every day if you want to read both papers. I feel obliged to read both papers, and I thought I would share with you the comparison. I encourage you all to live tweet today's breakfast. The hashtag should be on the screen now. In 2025, your Leadership Institute has already trained 23,240 conservatives at 1,617 individual training events. Since 1979, your Leadership Institute has trained more than 356,000 activist students and leaders. You have before you our schedule of programs for the upcoming month. I urge you to take a moment to review those schools and consider attending one or sending a friend to a training. If you're one of those who are watching us online, please visit our website at leadershipinstitute.org/training to see upcoming online and in-person trainings. At the end of our program, you'll have the opportunity to do some Christmas shopping. For instance, look at my tie. We offer fine Adam Smith ties, lady scarves, and other Adam Smith materials, and they will be for sale. And these are how to spot a fellow conservative around D.C. We also we just started with ties, and for some while had ladies' scarves and some Adam Smith jewelry. I'm going to drop those. Can't fold them. It's my pleasure now to introduce to you Elizabeth Kolb. She'll offer an invocation, lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Elizabeth Kolb is an intern in the Leadership Institute's Donor Communications Division. She earned a bachelor's degree in political science from Kutztown University in Pennsylvania with minors in public administration and professional writing. At Kutztown, Elizabeth utilized social media to organize voter initiatives. She canvassed extensively during the 2024 presidential election and is still a member at large of her hometown Republican committee in Chester County. Outside of her political work, she can be found sharing her love for the history of the White House, listening to Disney music, going jewelry shopping, and being an active member of her church community. Liz, will you stand up? Come up here and offer an invocation to lead us in the pledge.
Please join me this morning as we begin the morning with prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, help us to follow your plan for our nation. Give us the wisdom and courage to know what we need to do, for governing is serving and leading is listening. Help us to remain grounded and remember our worth as God's beloved in times of failure, and always to remember that every gift comes from God in times of success and progress. Let's serve one another and share our talents for the greater good of society. Let every person we meet today be of service to one another as a witness of Christ for all. Amen. Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under indivisible and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was well done. And now I introduce to you Carly Tomaine. She's going to give a programs report. Carly is the director of the Leadership Institute's J. Henges Center for Youth Leadership. Originally from Scranton, Pennsylvania, Carly is a graduate of Misericordia University with a BS in Government Law and National Security and Businesses Management. She organizes our Youth Leadership School, our flagship school, and she leads the team that travels across the country to train conservative activists on how to run effective youth campaigns, to run for student government, and win for candidates and causes of their choice. In July 2022, she held the largest youth leadership school in LI's history. 285 students. Really, that's larger than we generally do, and probably too large. We've had a great success recruiting for it. Carly, please come up and give the programs report.
Well, thank you, Morton. As mentioned, my name is Carly Tomaine. I'm the director of the J. Henges Center for Youth Leadership. It's been a very exciting year for the center, and I'm grateful for the chance to just share a few highlights from our year. We kicked off 2025 with a remarkable start. In January, we held our two-day boot camp of politics, the Youth Leadership School, during the presidential inauguration weekend. We held it just over the bridge in Washington, D.C., and had 108 students fly across the country to join us for that weekend. They not only participated in world-class training, but they also got to witness the inauguration. And while the cold did keep us away from attending the ceremony in person, we still watched it live just those few miles away. It was absolutely an unforgettable experience for so many students. Just a few months later, in May, we made LI history by hosting the first ever youth leadership school aboard a cruise ship. And while the destination was unique, the program remained every bit the boot camp of politics, with training sessions every day, homework assignments, a final exam, crisis exercises, and so much more. In June, we hosted our third annual high school leaders retreat right here in the Stephen P.J. Wood building on this floor. And 70 high school students from around the country took part in this intensive training, as well as touring the White House and attended the congressional baseball game, a packed and energizing week for our youngest of leaders. This fall semester has been no less busy for our campus leadership program. Our national field program has spent hundreds of hours on campuses nationwide, training and mentoring over 2,000 students just this semester alone. And Campus Reform, a project of the Leadership Institute, has continued its daily work exposing liberal bias in higher education. In fact, you can catch Campus Reform reporter Emily Sturge on Fox Business on December 11th, where she'll serve as a panelist for all 3 hours of Mornings with Maria from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And to end the year, as soon as this breakfast wraps up today, I'm going to jump on a plane and head to our final Youth Leadership School of the year, where we will have a great group of 55 students coming from around the country participating in, again, the Boot Camp of Politics. This year, we've trained more than 1,000 students in that program and are already seeing the great things that they're doing across the country, whether it's running for office, running for their student government, starting conservative chapters on campus, and so much more. So really, I just want to reiterate that the work done by the Campus Leadership Program and by our students nationwide continues to shape the lives of young conservatives across the country. Together, we are preparing the next generation of leaders and helping them master the principles and strategies to win. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to present to you Eva Burbo. She'll introduce our speaker. Eva is a Leadership Institute intern now in our Development Operations Division. She is a junior at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, where she majors in political science with a track in American politics and policy and minors in Spanish. This past summer, Eva worked as an administrative specialist for her county supervisor of elections office, where she supported election integrity by auditing voter forms, processing petitions, assisting constituents with voter services, and ensuring accurate voter registration records. At the University of Central Florida, Eva is active as a student leader in CREW, a Christian organization organized by a good friend of mine, Dr. Bill Bright. He was passionate about connecting people to Jesus Christ. A quick story about Bill Bright. While I was on the White House staff, Bill came and had a meeting with me, and he said, "Morton, I have an idea. This was in 1982, he said, I would like to have President Reagan declare 1983 as the year of the Bible. Making it an official proclamation would be a great help in what will be a massive effort to emphasize the Bible next year. Can you do that?" And I said, well, the practice is that the president is authorized and requested by the Congress to declare a day or a week for some particular purpose, but you need to get the president's support first and then go to the members of the Congress and get the Congress, House and Senate, to pass a resolution authorizing and requesting the president to do this. And I said, why don't I set up a meeting with you and the president, and you can suggest this to him. I said, I don't want to go through channels because channels might stop this thing, but if you get to talk with the president personally, I'm confident he will like this idea very much. So I made the arrangement, they had the conversation, the president loved the idea. A bill authorizing and requesting this passed both houses in 1983, became the year of the Bible. And it was, I know Bill Bright thought that was one of the achievements of his life. But back to Eva for a minute. Outside of academics, she enjoys reading, running, volunteering, and exploring new places. Please come up and introduce our distinguished figure. And I could say he's one of my oldest friends, and that could be taken two ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Morton. Richard Viguerie pioneered the use of political direct mail and direct marketing. Richard Viguerie transformed American politics in the 1960s and 70s by pioneering the use of direct mail in the political and ideological spheres, which allowed conservatives to go around the liberal media blockage right into people's homes. He used direct mail marketing to help build the conservative movement, which then elected Ronald Reagan as the first conservative president of the modern era. Viguerie is the chairman of the American Target Advertising, a 57-year-old direct marketing agency with 83 team members located in Northern Virginia. Viguerie's company has mailed more than 4.6 billion letters for hundreds of conservative candidates and organizations, and raised more than $7.5 billion for conservative causes. Mr. Viguerie and his wife, Elaine, have been married for 60 years. They have 3 children and 6 grandchildren and live in the Virginia countryside on 230 conservative-friendly acres. Please help me welcome Mr. Richard Viguerie.
I'm not as young and strong as Morton, so I'm going to sit down. And I may forget, so I want to say at the beginning, I've got a stack of books over here that called Go Big, and they're free. Take one, and if you run out and you don't have a chance to get one, just send me an email, say free book, and I'll send you one. To answer a question that nobody's going to ask, but I will tell you, 92 years old. I work 12, 13 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. Love every minute of it. Not one of you can keep up with me. I love what I do. Been blessed with good health, and it didn't happen yesterday, but I promise you, today, before the sun sets, I will save Western civilization. I'm 12, 13 years old, growing up in Pasadena, Texas, right outside of Houston, and playing cops and robbers with the kids in the neighborhood, cowboys and Indians. I don't tell anybody. I'm not shooting robbers. I'm not shooting Indians. I'm shooting commies. I just came into this world knowing them's as bad people. And so nothing has changed in 80 years. I'm still going strong, fighting the bad guys out there. In 1961, I got the chance to go to, I read an ad in National Review for 4 field directors for something called ACA, Americans for Constitutional Action, Admiral Ben Morrell's organization. And I had a buddy, David Franke, who worked for National Review. So I called David and said, David, I've got to have one of those jobs because I could hear the cannons going off in New York and the guns in Washington. The war was starting, and I'm stuck in Pasadena, Texas. I'm just desperate to join the fight. And David said, it's not 4, it's 1. It was a blind ad to run Young Americans for Freedom. David, get me that job. I got the job. And part of the job was to raise money for the organization. And the organization was housed in a public affairs organization run by a man named Marvin Leadman, who was a dear friend of Bill Buckley's. And so he gave me the 3 names, Charles Edison, youngest son of the inventor, J. Howard Pugh of Sun Oil Company, and Captain Eddie Rickenbacker of Eastern Airlines, World War I hero. Went to see all of them, called them on the phone. They were generous, gave me nice checks, but I realized early on I didn't like asking people for money. So I started writing letters. That seemed to work. So I got a secretary or 2 that wrote more letters, and that worked better. And then I got something called a mimeograph machine that you'd crank and turn out 100 letters an hour or something like that. And so after and all this is happening, I'm coming in contact with Bill Buckley and Brett Bozell and Frank Meyer and intellectual giants. So I'm trying to be like them. I'm a green kid from Houston, graduated from the University of Houston. And after about 1.5 years, I realized I wasn't making a lot of progress. So I decided to For that year and a half, I was just reading everything I thought they were reading, and after a year and a half, I realized I wasn't making a lot of progress. I didn't go to Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and I was never going to catch up with Bill Buckley. So I made a conscious decision to focus on direct mail, direct marketing. While we didn't have enough, we had some people that could write. We had some candidates. We had some people in most all aspects of the movement, but we didn't have anybody that could market our candidates, our causes, our publications, our organizations. So I made a conscious decision to become an expert in that area. I literally went to my wife, and by then I was married and had 2 babies, and I said, honey, I think I've got something here that's really important. I think it can change America and maybe even the world. This is really big stuff, but I don't know it. I need to study it and learn it. Could I be relieved of all household duties? No diapers, no trash, yard work. She bought into it. And so for 7-8 years, I did a deep dive of marketing. And so in 1965, I left YAF and started the world's first direct marketing agency, political marketing agency. And in 1965, 64, I learned that if you were running for president, you had to file with the clerk of the House of Representatives all your $50 plus donors. So I went down there one day, and there's a big stack of Barry Goldwater donors. And so I started copying, realized I wasn't making a lot of progress, hired 6 women out of my own pocket to get 12,500 Barry Goldwater donors. So that gave me the courage to go out and start my own company with those 12,500 donors. By the end of that year, I had 100,000. Now we're at well over 10 million donors to Republican, conservative, right-of-center causes. So all through the rest of the 60s, all through the 70s, I'm raising money for conservative organizations and helping launch dozens, if not more, conservative groups, and doing something no one had ever done before, and catching a lot of criticism. I literally would be regularly attacked on NBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, Associated Press, because I was doing something no one else had ever done. I was building the movement, and along with a lot of others out there, but all of the criticism, all of the attacks stopped within a few hours. Election night, November 1980. That's what Viguerie and friends have been up to. So I told Morton and others that were meeting at my home for breakfast for 10 years, every Wednesday for 2 hours from 7:30 to 9:30. Ed Fulner, Paul Wyrick, Morton, Ron Godwin from the Moral Majority, Howard Phillips, Terry Dolan, people who were the leaders in the movement in the D.C. area, and when people from out of town were in the area, they came for breakfast too. And I told them all, don't worry, it's taken me 20 years to do this. It's going to take the left 25 to 30 years because I'm smarter than they are. Not so. Within 5 years, the left caught up with us. And in my opinion, today, the left does a far better job of grassroots marketing than conservatives do. They have about 20,000 nonprofit single-issue organizations. We have about 1,500. They raise 700% more money than we do from 700% more donors. They have something in excess of 20 million donors. Conservatives, I estimate around 3.5 to 4 million. So we've got a long ways to go. And I think the number one reason, above everything else, why the left is so much more successful grassroots marketing than we are is energy. I'm 3 or 4 years ago, late one day in my office with my president and CEO, Kathleen Patton, and I'm ranting just like I am now, complaining about this is not happening, etc. And finally Kathleen said, I think it's because our people have low energy. I said, that's it, low energy. We don't have people like Eric Holder, John Podesta, Mark Elias, David Axelrod, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. And these are leaders of the conservative movement, of the liberals. We just don't have anybody at that level. We used to have one person, Newt Gingrich, but Newt has left the field of battle in terms of day-to-day strategic planning, leadership. And by the way, Gingrich was elected in 1978 to the House for the first time. And then by the early 80s, we were having those breakfasts that I was talking about, but we began to have meetings in the evening too. Same thing, all the people for breakfast on Wednesday morning would come back for dinner, and we'd be joined by 6, 7, 8 the young congressional backbenchers, Newt Gingrich, Vin Weber, Bob Walker, Hal Dobb, others. And we would plot and plan and strategize. And to the extent that there was anything that could be called Hillary Clinton's vast right-wing conspiracy, well, that would have been it. One of the things that I've learned and still practice to this day, during the course of the evening, Wednesday evenings, we'd come up with problems. We wanted to elect somebody, we wanted to defeat legislation, pass legislation, and Newt Gingrich would always go to the blackboard. We didn't have whiteboards in those days. And he'd write 5 words on there, 4 categories: vision, goal, strategy, tactics / projects. 30 minutes later, after we had filled out the categories there, we saw a clear path forward. I do that once, twice, 3 times a week before I go to any important meeting, take an important phone call, take a trip or whatever. I want to know what's my vision, what's my goal, what's my strategy, what's my tactics / projects. And I wish, and I encourage young people to do that for their life. You want to. I wish somebody had told me at age 20, 30 to have a plan for my life. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Our dear friend Howard Phillips used to say that all the time. If you don't know where you're going, any train will get you there. So have a plan for your life. And I'm going to talk in a minute here about the 4 horsemen. The same thing applies there. I live out in the country. I used to. I don't anymore. But I used to walk my 238 conservative friendly acres that Eva talked about. And I never had this happen. But I knew that if I ever came across a tree stump and I saw a turtle on that tree stump, I'd know something. Somebody came along recently. That turtle didn't climb up that tree stump. I'm a turtle on a tree stump. And I had 4 mentors in my life. And I'm here now because of people who saw something in me and helped me move forward. And by the way, until fairly recently, I thought mentees would select their mentors. No, mentors select their mentees. So all 3 of my previous mentors saw something in me that was worth them taking their time. So young people periodically will come to me and ask me to mentor them. And I want to know something about them. And if your goal is to become a major marketer, make lots of money, and retire at age 55 and sail the Caribbean, great, wonderful, God bless you, hope everything works out fine. I got no time for you. But if you want to save the world, if you want to go out there and build the conservative movement like Morton did, then let's talk, okay? Because my mentors that have been the 3 of them, the fourth is living. The 3 have passed away decades ago, but they are ruling from the grave because the energy, the time, the effort they invested in me has now been passed on to hundreds of other people out there. So I encourage you to get mentors because it makes all the difference in the world. I know Morton talks about this. I'll re-emphasize it here now, the importance of it. Read, study. Morton says, and it's very true, all leaders are readers. Not all readers are leaders. But At my tender age, I read 3, 4, 5 hours a day. I spend 2 hours every day, 6 days a week, studying marketing and business. So there is such a great need for leadership in the conservative movement. You can be that leader if you prepare yourself, if you read, you study. We just have such a need for leadership out there. And we just don't have the leadership that the left has. And we need people in marketing, postal marketing, digital marketing, public affairs, candidates, campaign managers, people in any number of areas in the conservative movement. And if you decide to make your living, your career in the conservative movement, if you really apply yourself, really work and study, within a short period of time, 5 years perhaps, you can be in the top 5%, because quite frankly, the competition is thin out there, particularly in my arena, marketing. I often say I wouldn't fly in an airplane, wouldn't dream of flying in an airplane with a pilot who had the skills of the average person in marketing. So if whatever you want to do, study, read. And by the way, Ben Franklin wrote in his autobiography, there's no accounting for the amount of good a person can accomplish if they make a business out of it. You know, look at the good that doctors do. They made a business out of it. So make a business out of something, and you can accomplish a great deal. And so at my own self, we've got 85, 90 employees. I'm chairman of the company. We've got 20, 25 clients, and trying to get it up to 40 this year, next year. We've made a business out of it, and we're able to help a lot of other people and help grow the movement because we made a business out of it. And by the way, don't wait for somebody to come and knock on your door and ask you to do this or do that. Pick yourself to lead. No one went to Donald Trump and begged and pleaded with him to run for president. Okay, he picked himself. The governor of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin, same thing. He picked himself. I started off in New York. After a year in New York with Young Americans for Freedom, we moved to Washington. So I'm here in Washington in the middle of all this conservative political activity, and I'm just like then now, full of ideas, full of energy. Nobody asks me my opinion. Nobody invites me to any meetings. Nothing is happening. Very frustrated. So I decided to call a meeting one day, and people came, and we had a good meeting. And then a few weeks later, I called another meeting. More people came. Early on, I learned the secret to getting important people, and lots of them, to come to your meetings. Serve good food. Morton knows that. Serve good food. I read years ago that as Nancy Pelosi is climbing the leadership ladder, she discovered that she was holding meetings and calling meetings and trying to be a leader herself, and she served good food. She said that attracted people in groves there. And by the way, Eva or Carla, if you're here, whatever, give me the hook whenever it's time for me to get off here. So I could talk about the conservative movement here for the rest of the morning or the day maybe. I talked about the Newt's, what I call Newt's 4-part plan. I've got another idea that I've developed here called the 4 Horsemen of Marketing. And it's this book here. I don't have any, I just got this one here. And the first person that comes up and asks for it can have it. But Kevin Gentry interviewed me a few years ago over breakfast, and he turned it into a book here. And it talks about the 4-part plan and the 4 Horsemen of Marketing. And I think you'll find it really, really valuable. And the 4 Horsemen of Marketing applies to everybody in many, many situations. You want a job? The 4 Horsemen will help you get one. You want a promotion, you want a raise. In my case, you want a spouse. Last thing I did before I left Houston to go to work for Young Americans for Freedom was to take my girlfriend, Elaine O'Leary, to San Jacinto Monument Battlegrounds. That's where Texas won its independence in 1836. Being a conservative traditionalist, I thought that would be a cool thing to do, and asked her to marry me. And I didn't know it at the time. I found out later that she was dating somebody else, and he turned out to be head of some big oil company, I don't know, Exxon or something like that. He was chairman of it. And I had a lot of competition. So I had to say, honey, marry me, and life will be like A, B, and C. And I was a better salesman than I thought I was maybe in those days. But anyway, just very briefly, the four horsemen: position, differentiation, benefit, and brand. Position is nothing more than a hole in the marketplace. When Morton started the Leadership Institute in 1979, there was a hole in the marketplace. And that was a private decision. Morton decided he wanted to help train conservatives to be effective in politics and public policy. And so then, let's say we're all collectively, Rupert Murdoch, 40 years ago. He wants to start a cable television network. He doesn't study ABC, CBS, NBC. He didn't care what they did. He brilliantly identified a niche market. Half of the country 40 years ago didn't have a television network to watch. So he started, of course, Fox Television. Then differentiation, he didn't go out there and take out ads, we're a conservative network. He hired Megyn Kelly, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, etc. And that sent a signal out there. Those people are not found anywhere else on television. Third is benefit. Obviously, you get news information that you don't get anywhere else on Fox. Fourth is brand. Brand is the ball game. One is a combination of the first three: your position, differentiation, benefit, and it's what makes you singular, one of a kind. There's nothing else in the world, perhaps, like Leadership Institute. Okay, when I started my company, I was the first to ever do ideological, political, direct marketing. And so you want to, if you possibly can, be a purple cow. I live out in the country, Rappahannock County, regularly pass fields of 40 brown cows here, 50 black ones over there. You can't tell one from the other. But if one of them is a purple cow, wow, look at that purple cow. It stands out. Your goal in life, if you really want to go high, is to be a purple cow. Separate yourself from everybody else. I've got to make sure I don't exceed my time limit, because I said I could talk all day about this. I will say one thing about my age and energy. I regularly have people say, wow, I want to be like you, Richard. I want to be 92, active, going 12, 13 hours a day, et cetera, et cetera. And I reply to them, I hope it's not sacrilegious, but I paraphrase Jesus talking to two of his disciples who wanted to sit one of the his right hand in his kingdom and the other at the left hand, and said, can you drink from the cup that I drink from? And I tell people, can you drink from the cup that I drink from? You know, it's not an accident. I work at my good health, and I do 50 good things a week for it. Maybe one thing I don't do, but I've tricked myself into doing the one thing I should do that I don't do: exercise. So now, twice a week, I go in for 2 hours of physical therapy, because Juan is waiting for me. And if I don't show up, I've got to pay Juan anyway, and he's going to have a hole in his plate. So I've forced myself, because if I've got to go on my own, I'll go tomorrow. I've got to make another phone call. I've got to have this meeting, etc. So I kind of tricked myself into to that. I take, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, half a dozen employees to lunch, and we're waiting for our table, and we're having this very conversation: nutrition. I eat this, I don't eat that, whatever. And I made a comment that I eat 10 to 11 servings of fruit or vegetables a day. And I had to be looking at one of the women when I said that, and I could see her processing that information. And after about 4 or 5 seconds, she said, wow, you must be very regular. Yes, you will be very regular. All right. When I went to YAF in 1961, conservatives needed something. 64 years later, 2025, they need the same thing, and that is leadership. We just lack the leadership that the left has. So, I just can't encourage you enough to think about providing leadership in whatever area you're in. Provide that leadership because the competition is very thin out there, quite frankly, and you can go to the top sooner than you might think. Another thing that reason for my longevity, I think, is I hope and pray that I am an instrument of God's will for as a Catholic Christian. That's very important to me. And so for 45 years of my life, I thought God's purpose for my life was to be in front of the cameras, running for office, public speaking, whatever it might be. And after 45 years, I realized, no, I'm not supposed to be in front of the cameras. I'm supposed to be behind the cameras, building big microphones, building big cameras for other people. And I think I'm really good at that. I certainly really, really enjoy it. And and by the way, one of the questions that they may ask me here later, they give me a little cheat sheet, something about my legacy. I'm not thinking legacy. I am as convinced as you are sitting there that I've got a bigger front than a back. So whatever I've done in the past is going to be dwarfed by what I do in the future. That's I think we should all be focused on trying to think, what is God's purpose for our life? And when you do that, I don't work. You turn television on Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, you'll see, I used to play a lot of golf, too much probably, and you see these golfers, not one of them would say they're working, but every one of them is focused. They're focused. And so that's what I do. I don't work, but I focus, okay? Harry Jaffa was a college professor in Claremont, where Larry Orrin came from, president of Hillsdale College, and he was every bit as smart as Bill Buckley. Didn't have Bill Buckley's drive to lead the conservative movement, his personality, etc., but he was a brilliant conservative thinker, writer, debater. And in 2014, he said something really, really interesting, perhaps profound. He said that Western civilization survives because of America. Then he said, America survives because of the conservative movement. I've added, conservative movement survives because of maybe 100 conservative leaders. Take those 100 conservative leaders like Morton Blackwell, Larry Orrin off the field of play, the battlefield, and the left's got a clear shot to the goal line. So I think we're in a spiritual civil war, and this is, we're not arguing, debating the size of the agriculture department or this welfare program or that. We're in a real spiritual civil war, and the left knows that. And you're not likely to win a war you don't know you're in. So we need to realize that we're in a spiritual civil war, and these people are mean, evil, and dangerous, and we've got to act and conduct ourselves as if we are in that war. And so don't wait for orders from headquarters. Don't wait for orders from Donald Trump or Morton Blackwell or myself or anybody else out there. You have talent, you have abilities and resources. You know what you can do. Go out there and be the leader that you can. And we need that leadership. And so don't wait for orders from headquarters. Appoint yourself, move forward and lead. And I'll see you in the front lines of the revolution. And don't be late. Thank you. And speak up very loudly because I haven't had a chance to put my hearing aid in yet today.
is that, do you think, because obviously the left worships government and they want to see it to grow, whereas the right does not like government, they want to see it small. So as a result, all or a lot of the talent in the right goes into creating businesses and running the American economy, whereas all the talent in the left really goes into making government bigger.
Excellent question. I literally regularly get that question. Why is it? Why? I don't know how in the world they do it. Quite frankly, they're very talented people. To be able to have 20 million donors to raise taxes, to defund the police, I don't know how they do it. But if there's one flag other than the American flag that represents the conservative cause out there, what would that be? Anybody have an idea? What flag that we see out there regularly, that not other than the American flag? Gadsden flag? Perfect. Go to the head of the class, young man. Well, don't tread on me. Leave me alone. I've got my family, I've got my community, my job. And in 2008, 2012, when Obama was running for re-election, the campaign's motto was forward. And he's in 2008. When he's running for president, he said we are days away from fundamentally changing America. Fundamentally changing America. They just that's their religion. That's their faith. They bring that energy to it. We don't bring that energy to it. I know Morton's got many friends as I do. Many of them are the same friends. They're retired. They're on the half 1 foot out the door, about to retire, and. The left, they don't think like that. They want to change the world, and what conservatives just want to be left alone. Any other? Question? Yes. You got a microphone over here?
Thank you for, as the previous gentleman said, an inspiring presentation. I'd like to ask you how you see where we are today. I've been a conservative activist since I was 11 years old, and I am depressed. I don't think having control of the three branches of government or nominal control necessarily puts us in a good position, and I'm worried that we don't know where we go beyond the man who is our president, but who is not conservative, and who advocates a lot of things that are anti-conservative. Where do we go in the future, and are you optimistic?
You beat me by a year. I was 12 years old before I started. You're 11. Another excellent question. If we're going to be save America, and it's on the bubble. There's no guarantee that we will. I am cautiously optimistic, very much so. As a Christian, I think it's a sin not to be optimistic. And so, and if we're going to do it, it's going to be by the young people. And I'm looking for clients that are under 40 years old. The left, in the 1960s, when they were starting the liberal cause movement out there, the barricades and the riots and all that, they had a saying, don't trust anyone over 30. That didn't mean that you became a conservative after age 30, but it means you didn't have that energy. You didn't have hell bent for leather. You didn't have that drive. And so the same thing with the conservatives, quite frankly. When you're 50 years old, 60 years old, your DNA is set, and you're not likely to become a major conservative leader from the start if you start at age 50. You can try, and I urge you to do so, but I'm putting my bet, so to speak, on the young ones. And am I optimistic? Yes, as I said. Here's how we go forward, I think. Got so many thoughts and ideas here, but let me just boil it down to, there are four major political forces operating in America today. The first force is the left, the Democrats. You couldn't put a piece of paper between the views of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, and Planned Parenthood, the green energy, the environmental groups. They all in sync. They didn't used to be that way. but the left was so effective, they pulled all Democrats, no exception. It used to be Jesse Jackson, Al Gore, Dick Gephardt, speaker from Missouri. They used to be pro-life. The left sent a message: you're not going to be pro-life and be an active national Democrat. So they changed the Democrat Party, moved everybody to the left. So, and then the second force is the Republican Party, and that's independent and separate from the conservative movement. And it used to be that I said that we have three forces, and our goal is to pull the Republican Party to the right. And we've been fairly successful in that. Hardly anybody, maybe nobody, as a Republican runs as a liberal Republican. That wasn't the case when I started in 1961. Rockefeller Republicans were probably dominant in the party. Slowly but surely, the conservative movement brought the Republican Party our way. They're not there yet, but they're mostly there. However, we're no longer a third force, we're a fourth force. A third force has arrived in town called MAGA, okay? And we agree with them 75% of the time. But there's 25% we don't agree. Maybe we don't agree on tariffs. Maybe we don't agree on the government buying an interest in private corporations, etc. So our goal, and Donald Trump's not going to be here forever. So our goal is to pull the Republican Party and MAGA movement to the right and to incorporate them so that it's monolithic at one point there, that we're all the conservative movement. And to get to the nub of your question there, quite frankly, I hate to say this publicly and perhaps on camera here, but to a large extent the conservative movement is a little bit of a paper tiger right now. I don't think we don't have the resources, we don't have the leadership that the left has. And I'm afraid that too many of our conservative friends have an attitude that they're an arm, they're an appendage of the Republican Party. And I think we should be independent of the Republican Party with our own agenda, our own source of funds, our own membership, pulling everybody our way. And basically we've done that. We just need a large group of basically younger people to join the fray and the fight and continue to pull the Republican Party and the MAGA movement to the right.
Mr. Viguerie, thank you so much for your leadership over the last half century.
Thank you.
You've watched, and we've all watched, a very unique period in American history where political control shifts back and forth between the parties. But historically, that's not the case. The first 60 years was, Southern Democrat slaveholders. The second 60 years was Republican business leaders. And the third 60 years, arguably, was the left, the Union Liberal coalition that lasted until Newt Gingrich took the House back. And my question is, the left has a strategy now, which you and I have talked about in the past, of packing the Supreme Court the next time they're in charge, of adding new justices, and then rigging the rules, getting rid of the Electoral College, getting rid of protections against voter fraud, so that they're in charge for the next generation or two. And my question is, what should the conservative movement do to stop the left from basically destroying the country by establishing one-party rule after they take over the court?
If this were the microphones of the country, back in the 1960s, 50s, 60s, 70s, our message went up against this blockage here and fell down to the ground. And we were the tree that fell in the forest. Nobody knew of us. But starting with direct mail, direct marketing, the internet now, and talk radio, we're able to, cable television, we're able to go around this blockage right into people's homes. And so that's what we need to continue to do. And all of us can be a modern day Paul Revere. And we need that because we don't have access to big media, and we need millions of young conservatives at the grassroots level to talk to their neighbors, their family members, and spread the word out there. And we can all blog. Some can do podcasts. We can all email. We can forward videos. We can do things and provide that leadership and have an outpouring of grassroots energy that is not existing right now. But if we rely on the Republican leaders, it's just not going to happen. And the conservative leadership is not there. So all of us right now, at whatever level we can, provide leadership with your family. And when you get millions of people out there being activists, it changes everything. It changes the dynamics. And by the way, when Paul Revere is riding through the countryside on the 18th of April in 1775, what is he saying? What was his message?
The British are coming.
No. What?
The regulars are coming.
Perfect. If you say British are coming, that's your neighbors are coming. Your neighbors are coming. Everybody was British in those days, and so everybody knew what a regular was or a red coat. The red coats are coming or the regulars are coming. So and by the way, as much as you can, avoid talking about liberals or woke people or progressives or socialists. That's not on the ballot. What's on the ballot? Democrats. And it's Democrats who want to defund the police. It's Democrats, who are doing this outrageous thing. And Democrats are opening the border. It's Democrats doing all this type of thing. And I think that's a strong message that we need to get out there, that we're in this spiritual civil war. And we want to communicate to what Rush Limbaugh used to talk about, low information voters. They're not dumb, they're not stupid, they're just low information. So we can't burden them with a lot of other, language they're not familiar with. It's Democrats. They know Democrats, and we need to brand the Democrats. And once people are branded, it's like super glue. It sticks with you. For 90, 100 years, the left Democrats branded the Republican Party, conservatives, as a party of rich people. Wall Street, trickle-down economics, and that's won them a lot of elections for many, many years. It no longer applies now. We need to be about the business of branding the Democrats as mean, evil, dangerous, anti-God, anti-Constitution, open borders, high taxes, etc., and we can win and govern America. I think I'm getting the hook here. So thank you very much. Remember, I got these free books over here. Help yourself.
One more question, if you're willing to take it. This gentleman here has the power.
You listen to the political, the MAGA movement. They all talk about undoing what the Democrats have been doing. That's the strategy. But you pointed out before that the way to get things done is first to have a vision. So what should be the vision of the conservative movement, or the vision for America that is going to get us someplace positive?
That's a great question, a great marketing question. The vision, without giving any more thought than I have now, is we're traditional moral values. The Constitution, America is an exceptional country, and our opposition is anti-American, anti-Constitution, anti-traditional moral values, and we want liberty and freedom, and beyond that, I'm not sure. I think that's probably a good place to start. We want individual freedom so that we can, live under God's laws, and recognizing there are people out there that want to spiritually change America and undo all the views and values that have made America the greatest country in the history of the world. So go forth with your views and values. Read, study, and then be the leadership that we need in this country.
All right, let's give a round of applause for Richard Viguerie. Ladies and gentlemen, this country would be in terrible shape had Richard Viguerie not been part of and a leader of the building of our conservative movement. And I'm really honored that we are here. You had a treat today getting it straight from his mouth. I invite you to join us in January for our next Wednesday Wake Up Club breakfast. Zoe Dockery, will you come up here, please? Okay. I invite anyone interested in a tour of our Stephen P.J. Wood building and our 2 additional floors in the adjacent building to come and and meet with Zoe here. She'll give you a great tour of the Leadership Institute, and she'll be happy to answer questions that you might have. If she can't answer a tough question you ask, perhaps she'll come and bring you up to pop into my office and ask me, and let me have a crack at your question. I thank you all for a wonderful breakfast. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. See my assistant, Kathy Graham. She'll be, Kathy, she'll be available at the elevator in case you want to buy some Adam Smith products, perhaps for Christmas gifts. So I thank everyone for your attendance here, particularly those numbers of you who are donors, and we will appreciate your continued support. Thank you very much.